Ew, what is good, my anime people? What is good, yo? So, with everything popping off in this week's episode, it's pretty clear that this show is just going off, man. Like, Sword Art is by far in a weird position that I've never seen before, and how brutal this stuff is. It's actually kind of alarming how brutal some of this stuff has been. Um, I never in a million years thought I would be watching Sword Art and seeing multiple women just getting absolutely devastated by some of these uh, opponents, especially in the sense of them losing limbs and eyeballs and all this different stuff, which makes sense in the grand scheme of how this world is. But it's like, okay, I get it, but that's pretty brutal, man. Like, it's, to say the least, some dark, dark stuff. And Sword Art usually is a little bit better than uh, just going full out. Like, just look at this person get his eyeball poked out, and then she just kind of like regrows it, because we know how. Oh Lord, we know how the world is in this show. So it's not surprising that her eyeball can come back. She grabs her arm off the ground and just kind of like reattaches it. None of that stuff is really surprising because of it's a virtual reality that has some type of healing properties that allow people to do that. But it's just the principle of how it looks, how nasty it sounds, man. Oh, it's kind of it's kind of nuts to see them just going to this next line of like destruction of the body and destruction of these characters, because never in 100 years did I think they're gonna be this brutal with them. I mean, sure, Asuna did get like researched by tentacles and stuff, so I guess I shouldn't be too surprised with all the stuff that they be doing in this show now. Um, but yeah, I honestly think Sword Art is in one of the best positions it's ever been in quite some time when it comes down to actually just being, the animation was top tier. Uh, the overall backstory of POH, aka the Prince of Hell, kind of opens up my eyes to the grand scheme of like, this guy is not that bad. And I think they were doing a racist moment, or this is just, I guess, a normal look in Japan, but for some odd reason, his his supposed brother was Kimito, this guy who has practically lost everything in the case of having everybody against him. Like, his mom hates him. She thinks it's his fault that her life is the way that it is. Uh, he seemingly like hates himself because he himself doesn't have a whole lot, so he kind of been fighting for his life, and he probably wants to live a better one than just a life of fighting for everything that he owns. But because of the way things continue to turn out and the way that he had to straight up donate a kidney to somebody A he's never met, B someone he probably would hate if he did meet him earlier on in his life, and C, it's for a person who completely abandoned them, and he had to do it or the mother wouldn't get supported anymore. which then would strengthen her, her reasoning to call him a devil spawn just that much more gravity, like, oh, you're a devil spawn. No, I'm not. Well, because I had the choice to give a kidney up or not, and I chose not to, you're not going to get support from the guy that created me. Like, what kind of messed up world is this? And it's kind of crazy to think that this is just a small glimpse into one of the laughing coffins and what actually could have pushed him so far. But outside of the laughing coffins, I think he is way worse than the laughing coffins, right? Um, Not only did he take out people, he then put out there that he, was the one that pretty much gave them all up. Like, after working with them and after getting things that he'd gotten with them, he then sells them all out to the oath, or the people that we see, or the armor that we see this week's episode that Asuna was working with. And that man trying his best. He tried his best, bro. But that just ain't how it be, and it ain't how it do. He got straight up slapped. And it kind of showcases just how ridiculous some people are in this show, sword skill wise, and just overall skilled. Like, imagine fighting someone who seemingly was on par with Kimito at one point when he gets his music and stuff. This was actually a moment where I didn't know who the heck they were talking about until the girl started singing. As soon as she started singing, I knew exactly where these people came from, and they just made it canon that that stuff actually existed and that stuff was actually real. But it was that movie where the sword art game was like a mobile or something, like it was a lot easier or like a lot more accessible or something along those lines. And when it was going, someone else had their mitts into the one of the people in the game, one of the people who were actually like fighting to be better and whatnot, to like beat it or whatever. I gotta actually watch it, because I never thought anything would come out of that. And here we are getting two main characters out of it, surprisingly. So that was an eye-opening experience right there. So I'm actually interested in seeing that movie and what they what they could have done further, because all I saw was previews, and it looked like that guy could keep up with Kimito, and that's the only reason why he was threatening. And then it comes to find out that he was actually in the Sword Art universe when all that stuff was happening. It's just the fact of the matter that he wound up, you know, not being this courageous and strong person. So now he can try to make up for it. I didn't even throw out my attack. I am angry. Now he gets a chance to actually better what he didn't do, so we'll get to see what he can actually do with all that, because as of right now, I have no faith. I have no faith in that man, and I was right to not have any faith. That man gets bopped super quick, so much so that they both end up leaving at the same time without the girl who sings putting up an actual fight. And I thought it was kind of dumb for that to happen, because she should have been there still singing, but maybe they're like, I don't know, they're like connected at the hip somehow, some way. But if she would have stayed there singing, some of the Red Soldiers might have actually had a better chance of staying in the right state of mind and fighting with them. But she's like, nah, I'm out. He lost, I'm out too. Like, much respect to them for, just keeping each other company, I guess you can say. But overall, man, this week's episode of Sword Art was absolutely beautiful looking. Even though the backstory did take up a bit of the storytelling, it was still an amazing episode at the end of the day. So Let me know what you're feeling about all this. The brutality of all of these like disgusting, disgusting moments. Let me know how you feel about those. If you like seeing Lifa and Sinon and just mainly those two getting absolutely destroyed. Eyeballs poked out, both legs blown off, arms blown off. Like, bruh, this was dirty. That someone has a hate for these women in the show, and right now Kimito is just finally maybe about to wake up to put an end to a lot of this, which the opening song kind of spoils a lot of, which it's kind of hard to believe anybody when they think they've already came up with the idea of what's going to happen, especially people that could have read the manga. But people are like, oh yeah, I believe that this is going to happen, this and that. And then you look at the opening song and it's verbatim in there telling you that, right? And there's a lot of people out there that say you can't skip that opening song, so where else did they get this information from? I wonder, you know. But your boy was here and he called out that Yujo hopefully would do something, seeing how he's supposedly like dead, and his existence is in the sword. So if he doesn't exist anymore, the best thing he can do is just exist in that sword. I think that's the least he could do, right? Is to actually show up and help Kimito get out of his own mind. So we'll see how all that turns out. Hope you guys are having an amazing day, night, evening, whatever the case may be. I'm about to drop one more video after this, and I will talk to you in the next one. So with that being said, peace.